We're live. All right. I think we're live. We're live. How's it going, everybody? It is Saturday, June 4. And today I will be starting page 17, which is a sort of a milestone in that, let me get my programs going. The first, not really the first 17 pages, but the majority of the first 17 pages takes place in one setting with two specific characters. And 17 is the last page of that sequence. So now it's moving on to a different part of the story, which is nice. Those little milestones are nice when you're drawing week after week after week, because it can get tedious where it's like, I'm drawing this goddamn room again and these people again, and it's the same kind of, it's like you just to mix it up. It's like it'd be nice to change things up. So now this is the last page in that scene, that room, those particular characters, and it's like, okay, feels good to be moving on. So let's see here. This page is only 3 panels, 3 wide panels, set up just, boom, 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 with no dialogue. So I won't have to do the part where I open up the Excel doc and paste in my script stuff. It's just drawing. And to make it even easier on me, I'm looking just to confirm. It's the same, excuse the cinema language, but it's the same shot each 3 panels. It's just a character sort of doing their thing in it. So the background is the same each shot. Like the camera is not moving, which means I can draw the background once and I'm done. Just like copy, paste, copy, paste. So it does mean that this week, probably, I will be able to finish page 17 early. If I'm really on top of it, I could probably even finish it this weekend. And that means I can get a jump on page 18, which is great because it's a little more involved. And there's a character we're going to meet on page 18 for the very first time. First time drawing a character is always a little ropey for me, where I'm kind of deciding what they look like. I don't do a lot of tight penciling or tight concept stuff. So the first time you see a character in a book, the first time you see a dinosaur in a book, the first time you see whatever in a book, usually, not always, usually I only have kind of a fuzzy idea of what they look like, and I'm finding them that first time I'm drawing them. And then when I'm happy with how they look, it's like, okay, that's how I'm going to draw them every time now. Which means the first few times I draw them is slow because I'm making a lot of decisions about what they look like and how I'm going to draw them. That's going to be the case with page 18, so it'll be nice to have more time with page 18, it gives me reason to indeed finish page 17 early if I can. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Okay, opening page 16 to do the normal thing of save a new file, delete everything, and reconfigure it to what I need for this page. So let's see here. There was another milestone with this. Where there's a character that in this comic that we're basically not going to see again until like one of the last few pages. And that's kind of nice too, where it's like, oh, because one of the characters, none of them are easy to draw because I'm always like getting a little fiddly and fussy with like the little things, but I didn't love drawing this character anyway, so I'm kind of happy to like say goodbye to them. But sorry, okay, deleting stuff. But, and I, obviously I'm not going to tell you what it is, but some of this stuff I'm not going to delete because I will actually be using it again on this page, something on 16 that is also on 17, and I want it just there so I can look at it to remember how I did it. Okay. There's a new policy, just so everybody knows. I'm not sharing Squatch's trolling anymore. That's not going to be a thing. And here's the funny part, Squatch. I'm going to remember all this when it comes time to sell the third comic. And it's going to determine where you are in the ship list. It really is. So just keep talking, man. Just talk. Run your mouth. I hope you enjoy DvsM 1979 when you read it December 2023. But let's see here. Okay. Updating the page number, which always feels good. Some people have been asking me, so now we're starting page 17. How many pages how long is this thing going to be? Where are we going with it? I'm not ready to talk about that yet because I don't want people doing the math and trying to figure out like where I'm at and how much longer and all of that, because there are so many pages that the page a week math doesn't work. There are some pages that are going to take me longer. There are some pages that aren't going to take me anywhere near as long for just based on what I've planned out. And there are lots of places in there where I'm hoping to get ahead of what the normal page a week rate would be. So what I will say is what I've been saying for a while now. Let's see here. I'm sorry, I'm trying to talk and do stuff at the same time. I will certainly be drawing for the rest of this year. The question is how far into next year will it go? Will it be like, will I be done in early January? Will I be done sometime in February? I don't know yet. And I'm trying not to think about it too much because there's really no point at this point. Oops, I screwed that up. Right now it's just one foot in front of the other and not thinking too hard about, January Gary's problems. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But in any case, I'll be drawing for the rest of the year. 100%. And I will say at absolute latest, like I'm planning on doing the con circuit, probably one con, like Phoenix Fan Fusion, next summer. And 100%, there'll be 3 issues of DvsM available for that. But in terms of when, Like, will it be out? Will we be able to order in January? Will we be able to order it in March? I don't know. I'm not talking about that yet. We'll find out. We'll find out together probably. So. Squatch is gonna go watch some fishing videos. Sounds like a nice, relaxing Saturday. I don't know what this ouch was to. I don't know if it was ouch at the Squatch threat or ouch at drawing for the rest of the year, but both would be legitimate responses. Okay, where am I at? Let's see here. Here. There we go. I think we're ready to start. Okay. Now what I'm doing is putting in sort of a, I don't know, I don't want to do that. Like a placeholder background. I'm drawing everything that's taking place these past dozen pages or so have been in a dark room. And sorry, again, talking and doing this at the same time. So in a way, some of the drawing has been cool, done. Some of the drawing has been basically like white on black. So it, you know, rather than trying to reverse everything, I'm just dropping in like just a black square for my panel background so I can see everything a little bit better. And I'm seeing how it's coming together and not having to rely on reversing stuff later to make sure it all worked out. Anyway, oh, we have a guest. Mr. Circlin, how you doing, man?
Hey, how are you doing, Mr. Hodges?
Good. What are you working on today?
Right now, I am working on a 3D print. So I commissioned an artist to do a cover, which I think I showed. I think I posted. Did you see that cover that I posted?
Which one?
It was for Young and the Dead. It was like in the arcade.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had so I'm having different artists commissioning a different artist for each cover, and I'm going to do variant covers. This one I just really like the layout and kind of the levels. So what I'm doing right now is I'm creating a 3D like an anaglyph print of it. So I'm just breaking everything up, and then I'm going to create the red and blue lines so we can have a separate like probably a stretch goal or something like that, where we'll have a 3D print with the glasses and everything. So that's what I'm doing now. And I'm trying to refamiliarize myself with how to do that because it's been a while since I've done one of those prints. So
very cool.
And so I just figured I would do that while I'm on here since you're doing this, because I like checking you out on Saturdays. And then when you're done with the stream, I'm going to go and work on my studio because I've kind of my girlfriend's out of town, so I've got a couple days where we're not doing anything. So I'm just going to concentrate on building my studio. So I ran to Home Depot and Lowe's and got a bunch of stuff and looking to start putting that together. So I'm excited about that too. Although it's pretty hot here, as you know, Gary. So
yes,
in my garage.
Yeah. I'm dreading it. Well, tomorrow is a lawn care day. I gotta do some lawn mowing, and I'm not excited. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But I haven't decided. I'm not really a morning guy, so I'm not confident in my ability to get up early enough to dodge the heat. I think I'm going to shoot for like an evening lawn mowing. I don't know.
It seems so. At least right now, the evenings don't seem too bad.
Right. That's we're going to see how that works out, but that's what it seems like.
But yeah, so that's my plan for today and tomorrow.
Well, I'm going to give a quick little shout out. The story is that Jim Luhan's latest animated film, Sugar Machine. This is all a rumor from Jim Luhan, but just a rumor. Who knows if it's true? That it's going to drop tomorrow. So
I heard that rumor too.
Yeah, the rumor's getting around. It's there's a lot of and the sources, pretty credible. Jim Luhan. But yeah, so guys, be sure to follow him on YouTube, and even better, maybe support him on Patreon. Support him on Patreon. I think you can probably watch it right now. But if not, tune in tomorrow and watch it. I thought it was hilarious and great. To me, I think a lot of his have this quality, but this one especially, it's very like, to me, Coen Brothers. It has kind of that vibe to it, like a Raising Arizona or something like that. Yeah.
So where are you with the story now? I'm sure you probably mentioned that.
17. I'm finally out of the shadowy room I've been drawing for like 12 weeks now, or whatever it's been.
Did you say you were about a third of the way, or?
Probably about a third, somewhere between a quarter and a third. Yeah. It's going to be, unfortunately, I end up, despite all my best efforts, I end up writing long scripts. So, this one, I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to say the page count that I have here, but it's somewhere between a quarter and a third done, probably.
I hope when I get back to doing the final issue here after I run this Kickstarter that it goes a little quicker than usual, because I do want to kind of wrap this up. The good thing is it's written, whereas before I had to write each issue at a time, but the sixth issue rather, the last issue is written, so that's something.
Yeah, it's funny as I get, so now this will be, once I finish this one, I'll be halfway done with what I planned for DvsM, because it's a 6-issue series. And the neat thing about that is I'm starting to think more and more about where it's going and how to get there, and getting excited about like, oh, it'll be really neat to do this next one, or like, I don't know, the end. I think when I did especially the first one, but even the second one, it was very hard to think too much about like the fourth one or the sixth one or anything like that. But now it's at the point where all of those, I'm sort of thinking about them equally. And and excited about it. The drawing is just so slow, and I just wish I was faster. I wish I had some sort of, unnatural Kirby speed or something like that, but I just don't, and it's frustrating to know that, it's going to be years before I finish the last one.
Yeah.
Even though basically, I mean, they're not fully written, but I have a really very clear idea of all the rest of them, like what they're going to be. And it kind of makes you, it's like, oh, I just wish I could just, find a genie lamp and have them done just so they're out there. But
so since it's kind of an anthology and all the issues can sort of stand on their own and everything.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't know this yet, but when you get to the final issue, is there anything that wraps everything up? Or
yes.
Okay, yeah. So because otherwise, I mean, you could just keep doing more stories in that world. Which
you absolutely could. No, the last one not only kind of ties it up, it's not probably, it is. I think it's going to be the only one that maybe, I don't know why I'm hedging. It's not maybe. It's going to be the only one that's difficult to read on its own.
Okay.
I think you will have had to at least read one or two of them, to get anything out of the last one, because the last one is going to be very much a conclusion.
Yeah. Is it the last chronologically?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I might leave little open ends in there where it's like, yeah, I could go back and do more later, or in some crazy pipe dream reality where I sell it to HBO and they do a series, and someone wants to make more of them later. There'll be that opportunity. It won't just totally shut it down. Nope, these are all the stories and that's that. But the third is going to be written in a way that sort of, I would hope, makes everyone come away from it saying okay, that was the story and now it's done.
Yeah. I mean, with Young and the Dead, it's definitely, I leave it open, but I don't have any plans to do another one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would just be kind of retreading stuff that I've already done, but you never know if somebody decides to option it, becomes a huge hit and they want to carry on with something else, there's something there. And I think it just leaves, even without that in mind, because that's such a out there kind of pipe dream statement, but just, I think leaving something open, I think it gives something to the audience so that in their head that they want to play out, future adventures or something like that in their head that's, it's kind of keeps that world open.
When I first came up with DvsM, especially if anyone, any of the real old fans have gone through the coloring book, in there's lots of suggestions of other stories. And this doesn't really spoil anything, but in the last comic, I do want to suggest all that. And and I'm not getting into the details, but there's going to be ways I'm going to sort of give you little glimpses of, because the whole idea, the whole premise of the series is I'm being leaked these files and I'm turning them into comics. And I'm going to be suggesting that there are piles of these files and I only picked out 6, or something like that. So, but I would like in the 6th one to show little glimpses of a bunch of others. It's there was also the story about this, there was the story about this, and kind of show the scope of the universe while still staying focused and not spending a lot of time on them. So I would like to at least do that, because there were a lot of stories that I would have, if it was faster, if I could draw a comic in 6 months instead of a year, or 2 months instead of a year, I might have done a 12-issue arc or something like that. But as slow as it is, it's nah, 6 is about all I can muster. Good Morning Arizona. I think that's actually a show, Jim.
It was.
I don't know if it's still is, but
I'm sure every single state has their own Good
Yeah.
Morning. Well, I think it's probably just because I think each Good Morning America, I think they have a local version that's Good Morning, whatever that's the state is, I think.
Yeah. So are you when did the first
Don't ask me, please.
If you don't remember, it's totally acceptable, but do you remember when you first thought of Young and the Dead and when the first issue dropped?
It is so sad when I think back about how long ago it was, because when I didn't realize, because I just heard, so if you do a con or something, you'll get people coming up and they'll like, oh, this is great, capitalizing on Stranger Things. And I'm like, oh if you only knew. I mean,
yeah, right.
I think they said something. I heard a thing talking about Stranger Things and like, oh, in the, I could be wrong, but I think they said like 7 years of Stranger Things. And I'm like, what? 7 years? And then, because I remember when Super 8 came out, and I'm like,
yes.
Oh wow! So and I had already done the first issue before that. So I mean, this is beginning of, if you remember Art and Story, I did it for the Mini Comics dump truck. So I don't know if were you around? Were you aware of Art? Okay, okay. Kevin Cross had this thing called the Mini Comics dump truck, and it was basically like a mini comics club where everyone creates a mini comic and then you trade them, and it was supposed to be like an 8-issue thing. So I came up with an idea, and I've told this before, but if you haven't heard it, I'll kind of tell it again. But I was thinking, oh, I just need a simple idea. And I thought, oh, kids fighting zombies, that's simple. I'll do an 8-page story of kids fighting zombies.
Yeah.
And then I remember just like I was running or walking or jogging or something like that. And I kind of just started thinking about it, and it's a lot of it started from my memories are weird. I mean, this could just be myself making this up, but I remember a lot of it just coming to me then, and then started writing it and everything. And I had a couple ideas had to do with zombies. The other one I might do, and that one definitely that one could be a longer series too, but I don't want to just stick to zombies, but it's a kind of a fun concept too. But so I was kind of going back between those two. I'm like, okay, so I'll do this kids versus zombie story. And, it was supposed to only be an 8-page thing. And then I just got into it. And before I knew it was a full comic. And then the first one was just like a mini comic, I don't know if you've ever seen the deluxe versions I do. This one had caution tape wrapped around these zombie hands that fold in and all this stuff.
Very cool. Yeah.
So yeah, I did that. And then I just kind of continued after that, but it's always been, it's just kind of always been a back burner project. As much as I enjoy doing it, it's just something I do, when I have time. So it's been, honestly, for all I know, it could be 20 years. I haven't put the
wow, really?
Maybe not that many. But I mean, Stranger Things has been around.
I don't even remember when that started.
If it's been around for 7,
has it really been set? Oh, but it hasn't been 7 seasons, right? It's
no,
7 years. Yeah, because it's on the 4th right now or something.
Yeah, 4th season right now. And I thought they said like 7 years. So
yeah, that could be. It could be 7 years old at this point. Well, no, wait a minute. Is that right?
It doesn't sound right, but I thought that's what they said.
Now I gotta think about that. I guess it could be. Oh, that's depressing to think of 7 years old.
So I don't like to think about it because it's just like. And I don't know how much the art style has changed along. You get those thoughts like, oh, if I collect it, should I go back and trace over everything and try to match the style? Like, oh, I don't want to. And I always advise against that. And
yeah, I don't
know. There might be a couple of things I might go in and just change. I don't know. But I mean, I look back at the first one, and the first one is, I probably spent a lot more time because I was. I wasn't as good of an artist back then, so I spent a little more time to get things right. Whereas now it's like, it comes a little easier. So yeah. I think it still kind of stands up, but there's definitely the style changes a little bit along the way. So I don't know. It's
funny. I think I'm noticing the opposite. I think I was so oblivious to this idea of someone actually reading the comics when I did 75. I didn't spend as much time as I wish I had, you know, like, and it's getting harder and harder to look back at 75 where it's like, but I really, I can't even imagine ever going back and redoing it. For the same reason I wouldn't want to do 12 chapters in DvsM. It's just, I don't have that time. Like, when am I going to burn, especially page a week, when am I going to burn 40 weeks redrawing a comic I already drew? Like, that's crazy talk. Like, come on. Like, no, move on. You know, if that's, Now, someday, like, I finish the whole series and I'm sitting around and I'm bored out of my mind and I wish I had a comic to draw and I don't want to start a new one, then maybe. But, like, I can't imagine that happening. I think that's super unlikely. But
it's weird. It's weird coloring somebody. I'm just so used to doing my own artwork.
Yeah.
So doing somebody else's artworks, it's like I can see the problem with colorists have and everything, because there's certain things I'm like, where does this go? What is this connected to?
What
I don't know what that is. Like, there's a zombie in this one that's the head's chopped off and it's kind of flying, and there's something around it, and I'm like, what is that? And it's like the head's severed, but there's a necklace around the head, so the necklace is kind of floating behind. I'm like, oh, it must be a necklace there.
Yeah, that one, I remember. I think you're gonna have your hands full coloring it like that. I was looking. I loved how it looked. It's like, wow, that's dense. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, I love it. For anyone that's, if just put this out there as far as the Kickstarter, there's going to be some really cool variants. So,
I'm eager. I don't know if you heard the beginning, but page 17 should be fairly low effort as far as all the pages I've done so far, and which makes this week a really good opportunity to go back and refresh my memory and bone up on Young and the Dead and start thinking about a variant cover, because I'm excited.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because I think that, and I definitely want to. I gave you a few parameters as far as a couple characters I want included in the vehicle, and I specifically kind of picked that issue for you because of that vehicle. I know in the past, you've done some really good things with the vehicle design. I always reference just the attention to detail with the little headlight that's busted on the one
that doesn't go down.
Yeah. So I'm really anxious. I think this is going to be a great cover for you. So
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Well, it was inspiring to see like the stuff so far, like Corey's work in progress and the one you shared, and Corey's
is kind of it's not necessarily specific to that issue. It's kind of combines a bunch of stuff, but it's kind of a unique kind of take with the composition that he's doing. So,
Frank is asking if you've lost weight, Scott.
Have I? Yes, I have. Yeah, if you go back and watch my videos, like my weight fluctuates all the. I get to a point, like sometimes typically I eat pretty well. I eat too much, but I usually eat healthy stuff. I don't go out for fast food and stuff like that very often, if at all. So sometimes I'm just like, okay, I'll just eat whatever, and then I get to a certain like a cutoff point that I get to, and I'm like, okay, it's time to start running again. And
no, I'm the same. There's like, it's not a dramatic waver. Like there were some dramatic fluctuations when I was younger, not yet like young, but I keep a picture of myself when I was probably my early 30s or something, where I think my teenage and college boy metabolism finally fell off a cliff, but I was eating the same way. And like, that's boom. Like you just like immediately, it seemed like overnight I gained 20 pounds. And it's scary because like, I didn't really notice until I saw a picture of myself. And then I was like, oh shit, like this has gotten away from me. And I had kept that picture because I was like, this will keep me like focused on what the problem is. But yeah, and it's my brother took a picture. There's 2 pictures actually I kept to keep me motivated. One was me at Comic-Con where I was out on a balcony, and the friend I was staying with, he closed, like the slider just to, be a dork. And like, so I'm sitting there knocking on the slider to be let in, and one of my hands is on the glass, and I had these like sausage fingers. Like I could see it. Like I was like, oh no. And then there was another, I was camping with my brother, and we stopped for Burger King on the way up to Flagstaff or something. And he has a picture of me holding a Burger King bag, and I just look like, you know what, you don't need any more Burger King. You're fine. You're fine. Try a salad. But so yeah, if I'm not paying attention, it will slip away. But the glory days. I was blessed with the highest metabolism in the world until I was about like in my late 20s, where I remember in college, I was a busser at an Italian restaurant. And we're going to let someone in here. I was a busser at an Italian restaurant. Corey, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. We were just talking about your I don't know if you caught it. We were talking about your composition for your
No, I missed it. I've been in and out. Was it yeah, it was all right.
That was good. I was saying how it's not really specific to an issue. It kind of covers a few different things, but that it's just kind of like a little Easter eggy type.
Yeah, Initially, it was a sketch that was intended for your birthday. That's Josh and I were going to collaborate on, and then that didn't end up happening. And so I was going for like more of like a, an entire series kind of homage.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there's little. I don't know if it really fits with any particular issue. I can't get there. It is.
It's for issue 2, and it does the treehouse features prominently, which is sort of the main set piece of issue 2. So
right, and the car's in issue 2, right? 2 as well, isn't it?
Do they? I'm trying. Yeah, I think they do get to the car in issue 2, and then it also plays prominently in issue.
Oh, you know what?
3, which is the one Gary's doing.
That's issue 3.
Yeah, that's the one Gary's doing, and he's going to feature the car too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
No worries. You can't have too many Trans Ams,
Right? Yeah.
Now, which one of you is the one that said they hadn't seen some Smokey and the Bandit?
I haven't seen that.
It wasn't me. Like I've seen.
Okay. All right. That's your homework, Corey.
All right. I've got lots of homework apparently because I haven't seen or listened to many things that are apparently essential to life.
It's not essential, but it's just kind of iconic, first.
No, I hear it. I mean, I hear it referenced all the time.
Yeah. I think it's hilarious. Don't bother with any of the sequels, though.
Oh, there are sequels?
Oh, there's a lot. And there's more than I thought there were. Yeah. I thought there were 3, and there's like 5 or 6. And they get to the point where Burt Reynolds isn't even in. He wasn't even in the third one.
Right. He had long since.
Yeah.
Don't they die in the first one?
I think you're thinking of Thelma and Louise.
You're thinking of Thelma and Louise. Yeah,
no, not Thelma and Louise. There's another like kind of cowboyish.
Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. Do they?
Which is another one I haven't seen. Am I mixing those? Those aren't even the same movie, are they? Okay, yeah. No. So, yeah, when did those come out?
I think they came out around the same time. Smokey and the Bandit and Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. Late 70s, I think.
Similar, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So that was before I was around.
Actually, Butch Cassidy may have came out in the 60s. I don't know. I don't remember. I wasn't alive back then. So.
What is the internet good for if not looking up?
Yeah, Butch Cassidy, 1969. Yeah.
And then
I used to have the toy because they tried to do a sequel, and I didn't, up until the longest time, I didn't know that the sequel wasn't the original. I just, because I had like the toys from the sequel.
For Smokey and the Bandit?
No, for Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
Oh, there was a sequel to Butch Cassidy?
Yeah, it was the early days where they were younger and had It had
Okay.
William Catt instead of I think it was William Catt and Tom Berenger maybe instead of Paul Newman and Robert Redford.
I had no idea. I didn't also. I
It
also
wasn't-
didn't
it
know
wasn't-
Smoking the Bandit was so late. Apparently, Smoking the Bandit was 77. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Around the same year as Star Wars. Yeah.
Okay, you want to hear something really weird? I, for most of my childhood, had not seen Star Wars because neither of my parents liked sci-fi or whatever. But we were also kind of poor, and so we would tape things off of TV, just like anything that was on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably how we got these movies. But for quite a long time, like an embarrassingly long length of time, I thought the Ewok spin-off movies were part of like the original trilogy, like the Escape to Endor and the whatever the other one is with the androgynous blonde curly haired kid.
Yeah.
Like I finally like sat down and watched Star Wars, and I'm like, where's the like blonde curly haired kid? And he or she never showed up, and I was so confused. I was like, did George edit this one too? Did he edit that whole story out?
That's right.
Yeah.
So you're saying you didn't see Star Wars until after the special editions when you were asking if he edited it out?
I'm pretty sure I didn't see the original Star Wars until I think I caught like bits and pieces at friends' houses and stuff. I may have seen the prequels before the originals.
Wow.
In the theater. Because I think I was a teenager when I actually saw the movie all the way through on the originals. Because I mean, it was the 80s and the 90s, and stuff is so it wasn't playing in the theaters, and so you actually had to like rent it or purchase it. And we were like, I had no money, like there was no cash around to do that type of thing. So if it didn't show up on TV at some point in time and get taped by my dad, then it wasn't really played in our house, which is probably why I've never seen Smokey and the Bandit and stuff. Because I mean, it didn't come out in the theaters. Like I remember, the probably 6 to 12 movies that I paid to see in the theater as a kid because we were broke.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So anyway. So I have different memories of that type of stuff. I don't think I've seen the Ewok spin-off movies since then though. But I watched them. It was like one of those things like Karate Kid trilogy and Three Ninjas Knuckle Up and all that stuff was just on like constant repeat. Because you just, the only space in between the movie was the time it took to rewind the VHS tape.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't think I've seen the Ewok stuff.
I wouldn't recommend watching it.
No, I've never heard anything that made me think I was missing out.
As a kid, because I was starving for Star Wars at that point because there wasn't anything else Star Wars, and then I was like one of those kids that wasn't bored of Star Wars, and then they just stopped making toys, and they stopped making movies, and it's like, oh, I guess that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was always, and to this day, like strongly favoring movies above all else. Like, I don't know, even as a kid, I was like, I'm sure I heard about Ewoks and stuff like that. And there was that Droids cartoon and all those things. And I was just like, I don't care.
And there was the Ewoks cartoon as well.
Yeah.
So I think most of my experience growing up was like the kind of ancillary garbage of Star Wars, not like the actual. Because Droids, the Ewoks cartoon, I remember that one, and then even later on, in my early 20s, I got the first. I remember as kind of like a golden watch. Thanks for working hard this year. My boss bought me the first edition or the first generation video iPod, and there was like a 480p screen with a click wheel, and there was almost nothing to buy, and that was when the people were doing webisodes.
Yeah.
And Cartoon Network was releasing, I can never pronounce this guy's name, but Tartakovsky.
I think
Tartakovsky.
Tartakovsky.
Yeah, there you go.
They were releasing his Clone Wars,
which I loved.
Oh, those are phenomenal. Those are possibly
really
one of the best things. But watching them in order, was really awful because they had such a long intro and outro that sometimes it was almost longer than the little webisode.
Yeah.
And so you'd watch it and you'd watch like 3 minutes of like amazing animation, and then you'd watch like 2 minutes of like, whatever. And it's like this stupid click wheel. Yeah. So it's like almost more time consuming to try to fast forward to the next episode than it is to just sit there.
Yeah. So. Hard to skip.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that's my as a hardcore Star Wars fan, that's my Star Wars background.
Wow.
Very little actual Star Wars. A bunch of other random stuff.
And it's probably an age thing, but for me it was all about the movies. And I remember, I think I saw A New Hope in the theater, but I'm not old enough to have seen it when it first ran. I think I saw it. They re-released that movie a gazillion times before Empire came out. Like it seemed like it was just kind of always playing somewhere. And I'm pretty sure I saw it in like 79, maybe, where I would have been really young. Right? But it was still old enough to make an impact, but I also to be totally confused. Like I assumed all the stormtroopers were robots, and I of course thought Darth Vader was a robot, and I remember being, because of that, confused that when Han and Luke dress up as stormtroopers, I wondered what they did with all like the robot guts from the like how they cleaned all out. Like I was like, how are they putting on their heads? Like I was right. My mind was blown. But I mean, I was totally hooked. And then Empire, I was old enough to remember a little more and understand a little more clearly. And I remember my next door neighbor saw Return of the Jedi before I did. And he was telling me all about it. And I was sure he was like lying to me because some of it just didn't make sense to me. Especially the part where he was like, so Vader gets his hand cut off. And then he picks up the Emperor and throws him down like this shaft. I was like, but you said he got his hand cut off. Like, how did he pick him up? Like, I was just thinking, like, he's making all this up. Like, none of that makes sense. He's just bullshitting me.
Oh, that's funny. Speaking of mistaken robots, because my introduction to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the cartoon, I was like shocked every time the foot soldiers were actual like people in other adaptations and things. Because like in the cartoon, they were like, it's probably better that these like our heroes aren't just murdering dozens of human beings every episode. We'll just have them blow up.
Right. Well, and canon, like the comic series, they're robots, right?
Are they? I haven't read the original.
I don't know. I just know this is. I missed the TMNT thing, so my knowledge of it is, as a video game geek, was strictly the video games. Right. And in the arcade games, whenever you would kill a foot soldier, they would blow up. So I just like, you knew they were robots, but I don't know.
Yeah. Now I want to know. I got to Google that too. If the original were robots or not.
Frank is asking if DvsM and Young of the Dead will have blank sketch covers.
I don't have plans for that. I mean, if everything goes great, and maybe there's a room, I need to do another stretch goal. I don't know. I'm curious. Maybe I should research that a little more and see how much of an interest there is in that.
So I mean, is that because I'm very unfamiliar with that?
Maybe I should. Sorry, Corey. Maybe I should, because that way, because maybe I could do my own. If there's people interested, maybe I can do my own sketch covers too, even if I don't like sell them. Even if nobody gets them, like I'd have them like to bring to conventions and stuff. But,
that's what I was going to ask. Is I'm kind of unfamiliar with that whole market, but I mean, that's a thing that a lot of books do, and then just any artist grabs the sketch cover,
Yeah.
does their own thing, and
I
sells it?
think
Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little different with remarks where typically
Another thing that I was
Frank, you kind of broke this rule, but typically with remarks, it's the person who designed the cover is the one that's doing the remark. It's almost like an autograph. But with sketch covers, I think it's the company's way of like, okay, all these people are doing this fan art. How do we make some money off of it? You know, so they started doing the sketch covers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would be open to doing a sketch cover if I thought there was enough interest. I that would be my only thing. It's like, it costs stuff to print things up. Maybe I guess as a test. I don't know. This might be an idea for Comic-Con next year. Like as a test, I could just print like 15, or something and just see how that goes. So is a blank, do you sell that for more or less or the same as you would sell?
Same as a regular issue.
Same.
The only thing I'd have to like get a sample, and the problem is I wonder if like Comics Wellspring would send me a sample, because the difference between sketch covers varies so much, like from company to company, and some of them are like I did this Dynamite Comics, and it was like this glossy. I don't know was thinking trying to draw on a glossy cover that smudged the whole. I mean, I had to be so careful with that, and I told the guy because it was a Bob's Burger cover, and the guy he gets a lot of commissions from me, and he's a fan of Bob's Burgers, and he wanted me to do more. And I said, I can't draw anymore. I had to be so careful with this thing. And then some of them, I've had other ones where you can pencil and ink on it fine, and when you do colors, it just gets splotchy. The Marvel ones seem great. DC seem great. Boom is I've seen Boom's not great. I don't know.
Well, that's a good point. Like, does Comics Wellspring have like a matte cover option? I haven't even looked. Like I do.
Well, I know they offer sketch covers, but I just don't know what the quality of their sketch covers are. Yeah. I mean, what kind of paper it's on, because some of it, again, and if you're just doing black and white, most of them seem like they do that well. But it's if you start adding marker to it. Some of them go on real smooth. Some of them get kind of blotchy. So
yeah. I mean, I could picture doing that. I've got a year now to think about like what I want to do for Comic-Con 2023, and the only thing I know is I'll probably do a pulp variant of 79, the one I'm working on now, that will be it'll be like the pulp variant for 75. It'll be like a Phoenix Fan Fusion exclusive, but of course I'll have more that I can sell through my Etsy shop. But other than that, I've thought about like maybe I would want to reprint the coloring book and like bit a budget version of it, like a newsprint version.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, the thing about the sketch cover, though, I mean, it's hard enough to just get interest in people wanting anything of your own original comic. So if it's not like Spider-Man, I mean, how many people are actually going to be interested in doing a Young and the Dead thing? I mean, I guess zombies, maybe people just like drawing zombies, so that might be something there. But yeah, that's the only reason I may consider it, is because if I got like the minimum order 25, and if they don't sell, then I can just bring them to shows and do my own, because I've sold remarks and stuff with my Young and the Dead books, so maybe I could sell sketch covers too if I draw a sketch on them. I don't know, or if I just do the sketch and offer that as a reward, I don't know.
Right.
I gotta start thinking more about this because it's coming up next month. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
Yeah.
When was the last time you did a Kickstarter? I don't remember.
It's been a couple years. Yeah, it's been a couple years. So.
I thought probably for 79, at the very least, maybe the pulp cover, I might do my first Kickstarter. Just because
I think you should, Gary. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's just getting more and more expensive to print like a significant amount. And at that point, and this was based on talking to Scott Lost and Keith when I was tabling with them, They were both saying as soon as they did a trade, interest in floppies almost evaporated.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had, do you know Jay Gonzo?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I was collecting his single issues, and there was a couple that I hadn't got, and I knew we put the trade out, and I was like, oh man, I'm probably not going to be able to find these single issues, but I talked to him, and he said, yeah, I'm just a fan of single issues, so I'll still probably be doing these. So I thought that was cool, but yeah, that's kind of the case once you put a trade out. It's like,
yeah,
that's kind of been my goal all along. My goal hasn't been to do single issues. That's just so I have something to put out because I'm so slow.
Yeah.
So once I do get the the completed trade, I mean that was my ultimate goal from the beginning anyway. So
well, there's a part of me that, and it's getting to the point, and this is what I experienced when I was doing. So people who don't know, I started my DvsM thing mostly with prints, and part of what made me lose interest in it was just inventory management. I had 18 different prints, and going to a con and figuring out like how many of each to order and how many of each to bring. Like I got so burned out on that. And at some point it's kind of going to be it's going to be a similar problem with the floppies where, even next con, but especially like a couple cons after that or something, when I have 3 or 4 or 5 different books, it's like, how many 75s should I order and bring? How many 97s should I order and bring? Like, who knows? And so the appeal of the trade is like, especially at this point when I'm at the halfway point, if I have 3 done, what if I just do like some modest amount of singles of 79. So I'm not screwing anybody who's been buying all along. Like, I don't want them to be like, now I have to rebuy stuff. But then for everybody else who might be new to DvsM, how about like a part 1 DvsM that's the first 3 compiled in a trade, and then that keeps my inventory management easy, and then just never reprint 75 and 97, just kind of start migrating to like, offering a few floppies for people who aren't totally who are caught up, but then mostly pushing trades. So that's, if I was doing that especially would be a Kickstarter situation. If I'm doing like DvsM part 1, 75, 97, and 79 in one perfect bound book or whatever, like I would kickstart that. I don't know what that would cost, but it's probably not a price I want to foot. I'd probably want some advance money.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that with I forgot who was telling me that the single, like the once they get to the trade, they might just print. Yours is different because it's an anthology, but
yeah,
if it's a continuous kind of story. I've heard people say I'll just continue to do a floppy of issue 1 just in case somebody doesn't want to drop $20 or whatever in a trade that
right.
for $5 they can get an idea of the story. But there's been so many times where I bought books and they went to trade, like indie books, and you can't I can't go back and get the single issues because it's not like a Marvel or DC where if you want to, you could probably find them. You may have to pay a little bit of a premium, but they're out there. Whereas indie, they're so low quantities.
It's probably gone. Yeah.
Yeah. And just even Kadoja was one of those that I had the first issue. So when I went back, they didn't have any more of those. So I just bought the trade,
Yeah, he was talking about that
floppies.
Specifically, about how, you can't get that anymore. But.
Yeah.
I think about the only floppies I buy are from like indies and friends of mine because I hate floppies.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, I have almost exclusively graphic novels and trade paperbacks and collected editions. It's like I have some floppies because I'm like, oh yeah, definitely want to read that story, and because you're not doing this full time, it's going to take you 5 to 10 years to do it. So I'll buy it as it goes out.
Right.
But like if it's like a publisher deal or whatever, I'll wait 6 months.
Yeah.
I'll wait a year. Like I love, you can't see it in the shot, but I love like Invincible, and I seriously, I think I bought the first 3 ultimate collections, which are like they're not like an omnibus edition, but they're like, I think they're like a full year.
Yeah.
And then for the next like 9 years, I would wait a year before I would buy another thing. Anyway.
Yeah. No, totally. I always favor, especially when someone tells me about a comic I've never read and they're like, oh, you should really be checking out whatever saga or something.
Yeah.
It's like I immediately like, well, where can I get them all in one book? Because I don't want to,
right.
like I don't want to chase down like individual, and I'm not a collector. Like I don't need
exactly.
like there's no appeal to me in having like, oh, I have number one. Like I don't care. I just want to read it. So
right. Yeah, I got burnt on that already in high school in the 90s when I was expecting to put myself through college with all my number ones.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's the collectors that are keeping floppies alive because you just don't see a lot of slabbed trades,
Right.
Yeah, it's just so.
Yeah, I mean, and we're even starting to move away from that with like Ultra Mega. Who is that? I read that just recently. Where did that go? But it's being released, I think, like twice a year, and I think they're doing like 4. It's like it's not quite a trade paperback. It's more like 3 or 4 issues. It's kind of like what you're doing, Gary.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like it's not a full trade paperback, but it's like bigger than an issue. Like it's more than 22 pages.
Yeah.
Anyway, but like, oh yeah, here it is. James Herron and Dave Stewart. Yeah, I can't remember what their release schedule is, but it's not monthly. Anyway, they released a couple like bigger ones, and they're like $6 or $7 instead of $4 or $5.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's an interesting model, and I mean, it's kind of what they've been doing in Europe forever.
Yeah.
You make the comics and you release the comics when you want to make them or release them. Yeah. And the only thing that's really monthly is like the Duckverse, or whatever, or some of those things.
Yeah, monthly is a weird. Example number 4,122 of arbitrary rules in comics. Monthly is the thing. 22 pages. 22 pages. Like whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Like you literally, if you're not like top tier, then you have to be living under the poverty line and working 60 hours a week, at least 5 or 6 days a week to meet a monthly deadline so that you can make less than $30,000 a year.
Right. It's crazy talk. And I think that's why, and I don't begrudge them. I get it. I totally get it. But I see a lot of indies that, it's 8 pages. Or something, and it's like, I understand. You have a job, you have a life. You're trying to get books out. Like you can't be a crazy person like me, and just write these ridiculous long, that are going to take you a year or a year and a half to get out. Like I get it. I understand.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I like the page a week. That's what when I was doing the mixed. I did that for about 62 weeks in a row, page a week, fully colored and inked and everything.
Colored. Yeah.
I mean, not that it was good because it was my first. I was learning to draw, but that's a good pace. It's a ton of work.
I think if you have a life and you're actually, if your style is even a little more than just like stick figures and I think a page a week is pretty par to me. Like I think that's a very reasonable. I don't know. I don't even know if it's a reasonable goal because as I've talked about, I think with you guys off air today, like that's I go to work, I come home and I draw pretty much all night, pretty much every day. And like that's to manage it. So like that's, and I think a lot of people that's not even doable, especially if you had kids, if you have any kind of like my life is fairly minimal. You know, like I don't have a lot of demands on my time, so I can sacrifice them that way. A lot of people, I'm sure, cannot, and so even that a page a week might be really ambitious. But I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it depends. I mean, you have like an exceptionally accurate and clean style of illustration.
It takes time. Yeah, it's
You know
not
what I mean?
a thing to do fast. You know, it's
Like Scotty Young, you know, that's a fluid brush style that, you know, it. I mean, if a line goes astray, that's fine, you know, because that's
right.
kind of part of what he's doing. I mean, the dude has control, and I'm not knocking his style, but it is by definition a much faster style of illustration.
And some people, you know, whether it's by just raw experience or talent or whatever, can go fast, you know.
Right.
Like I don't know, like Joelle Jones, like I don't know how fast.
Holy cow!
But I think she does fast, right? Like
no, she does. I saw an interview with her. She does 2 fully penciled and inked pages a day.
See, that's. I mean, I can't even wrap my brain around that. Like that, she's a genius. Like there's no other. I don't even know how else to explain that.
She must be like one of those duplicity situations where she's like 3 people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I just because I have some of her original pages, and I mean, if you see them full size, like I just don't even like. She must never question anything that she puts down in pencil.
Right. It's this perfect confidence in what she's doing, I guess. You know?
I mean, it is an incredible, and it's like she's switching tools. It's not like she's using all one tool.
Right.
You know, she's ruling things. She has like patterned backgrounds where the ceiling or the wallpaper or whatever is like an Art Deco, like repeatable pattern, and she is hand inking all that stuff. I mean, it is. I'm just looking at them now. They're just freaking amazing.
Well, and another one
off the wall
is I think if I remember correctly. Oh yeah. See, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful, and like, and it's not even about actually. It's setting aside the beauty, like setting aside maybe you don't even like that style, whatever. That's fair. But just looking at that, the idea that she can do that so fast is insane. Yeah.
Right.
Like I would love to watch her work, you know, just to see it. And I know like I won't be able to use any of this. Like, you know, like
right.
He's a different person. Another one, like if I remember right, I think Jack Kirby did something like 100 pages a month. Like when he was at his, you know.
Yeah.
Now Kirby, I would argue, is not as meticulous or as fussy as Jones. So like it's easier to understand him going fast, but still that's crazy.
Here's one of her older pages.
Yeah.
And it's a lot less. Scott, have you read this? Have you read Helheim?
No. Looks awesome.
I feel like Helheim is right up your alley.
Really?
It is it's 2 witches in old Viking times fighting each other by raising drogers.
Is that a cover, or is it?
No, this is a page this is just a splash page in the book.
Oh, okay. Wow.
She's amazing.
Yeah, I can't
afford splash page.
I can't afford her covers, but like,
I'm surprised. You know, I don't know how much money you make, but I'm surprised you can afford that. That's pretty bad.
Well, okay, I'll tell you. Almost all of the pages that I own are from before they got big, because I own some like Sean Gordon Murphy stuff.
Yeah.
And I could probably sell it for like 10 times what I bought it for.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's.
It's good to have a good eye for who the upcoming artists are and get their stuff early. You know.
Yeah, I've never sold a page, but if I ever got in trouble and needed to, I probably could, because I've got a Punk Rock Jesus page with the guy on his motorcycle. Have either of you guys read that book?
No,
I haven't read that either.
Oh, dude.
I haven't even heard of it.
Okay. Now, as a religious person, you would think that this would be very offensive to me, but I actually find it very nuanced and well written, and I feel like I want to every time I pitch this, I want to explain that because at the time he was raised by, I believe one of his parents is Baptist and his other parent was Catholic. Something Protestant Catholic combination. So he was raised kind of ultra religious, kind of like Josh, like in all those schools and that type of thing. And then he became a militant atheist, like an angry militant atheist. And he wrote and illustrated this book kind of during that phase. But he's such a good writer that like you would get, you know, like if you were to hear that somebody was in that kind of state of mind and it's like one of their first books, you would expect it to be like just shoving stuff down your throat.
Real edgy and like, I would feel like, no, I don't want to read that.
Yeah. And really cartoonized, like ham-fisted, you know, depictions of, but like there is this giant range in that book of like crazy right-wing gun-toting Christians all the way into the middle of like very nuanced Christianity, and then people struggling with their faith, and then agnostic scientists that are kind of questioning whether there is a God, all the way into like very militant, angry atheists. And there's like characters that like match that range. Yeah. And they're all written in such a realistic way that you're like, dude, I know people exactly like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, the premise of the book is in the near future, a TV network buys the rights to the DNA that's found on the Shroud of Turin, and they clone Jesus, and they build a compound on an island, and they start a reality TV show called The Second Coming. And they impregnate a virgin with the DNA, who is then raising this kid on this island compound. And they hire as head of security an ex-IRA, like very devout Christian who left the IRA because he felt like they weren't being very Christian, but was trained by the IRA. So he's like a super hardcore, like military guy. And then you have like your evil like TV network executives, and then you've got like a scientist that's there who's in charge of like making sure that the cloning process went okay and everything, but then also sticks around to be kind of the kid's tutor.
Yeah.
And the kid grows up to become, and punk rock has become illegal because it's so anti-authoritarian.
Okay. And
so he grows up, the clone of Jesus grows up to start a punk rock band. And that is the story. And it's like the whole, you know, like on the island, like every once in a while, like, you know, like militant atheists might try to drop in and kill him because they don't want the second coming to be happening. And it's like causing faith, or militant Christians come in by boat and try to capture him and kidnap him so that they can raise him in the way that they want to raise him, you know. And then it is a bonzo book, but it is so freaking good. And there's so much like nuance to it. Like you see the IRA guy has this like old original Indian motorcycle that he inherited from his dad. And he like mods the crap out of it. And his friends are like, what are you doing? Like, this is like a classic bike. But you start to realize, or maybe you don't, but I did. You start to realize that his modification of the bike is actually him. It's like it's a metaphor of his modification of his faith. And so he's taken what he inherited from his dad, and he's removing things and adding things according to the way that he wants to see the world. And there's so many little things like that. And I actually
sort of interesting. Yeah, it sounds
so good. It's one of my favorite books. I have like 3 copies of it because they released.
I've never heard of it. So
yeah, they released like a big artist edition of it and everything, and it's super good. You know, and as you can expect, if you're the type of person to be, you know, easily offended by, you know, reinterpretations of religious iconography,
sure,
it's going to be a massively offensive book.
Of course, yeah.
But I feel like there's enough nuance in it that it's actually really well done.
I remember I'm old enough to remember the Last Temptation of Christ release, and found out in that thing that nuanced interpretation will not help you. Like I found that movie. It's one of my favorites. Like I found it fascinating and a really interesting and thoughtful, fresh approach to just this character that's in our. I don't mean character in a a dismissive way.
Yeah,
I mean this figure that we all have in our collective consciousness in different ways. They somehow found a fresh approach and a really interesting, thoughtful, and I thought it was really thought provoking. Didn't matter at all. Like some people you could tell like didn't even see it, didn't care, just objecting to the very premise and like.
But it's almost like there's almost a little bit of that on the kind of the extremes of religiosity where it's like any depiction of my guy is bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, it had that whiff. Like it definitely did. Yeah, where it was just like there's only one version of this we would ever want to see, and this is not it. So
well, and even when it's like that doesn't even make sense. Like the depiction that you're saying is okay is like blue-eyed, blonde-haired white guy with like a page haircut,
floating from scene to scene, practically. Where it's just this is
like the elves in Lord of the Rings, where there's no dust that touches
right.
Him. It's
like Legolas walking on top of the snow.
Right.
Like that's basically no, it's.
But I mean, when you think about it, like there are even stories in the Bible where like people are washing Jesus's feet. Like the guy was a normal guy that got dirty,
right.
But like it's like, anyway, it's like a thing. But we don't.
Scene where, and I don't look. Catholic school was a long time ago, but I distinctly remember a scene where he kills a fig tree because it didn't have any fruit, or some kind of crazy, I mean, there's just stuff like that where it's like you're not seeing that in Jesus of Nazareth, the 6-part miniseries or whatever it is. Like I mean, it's okay, but.
Man, the scale of this is driving me nuts. I don't have the scale right on this thing.
The scale, what are you working on?
I'm like
this. Why did you make me do this?
No, like I really am. Here's why it's bugging me, Scott, is I'm really excited. I've always wanted to do like a comic cover that isn't one of my own, something that's printed. And so like the opportunity is really awesome. And I feel like I'm just blowing it with the scale. What
is it about the scale? What are you not?
These are children on the right.
Yes.
And these are adults. And I'm trying to figure out a composition where the adults fit into the page. But if I put them on the same eye level, then I can fit everything else that I want in there. And in reality, I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm just going to have to raise this smoke up higher. Yeah. And then raise them up so that they're at an eye.
Well, I think you have a little room to do that because I don't think that's a standard comic book. The dimensions don't look like a standard. It looks more square than round. I mean, it's square than rectangular.
I'll have to. Yeah, let me look it up because I thought this was your template that I got from.
Well, I had some different templates. I had magazine templates in there too, so it could be that. I don't know. It could just be me looking at it.
No, it could be wrong. If it's wrong, man, that would be amazing because. That'd be super helpful.
Yeah,
because it looks like the kids are not only are they shorter, but they're bent down, whereas it's hard to tell if the zombies are bent in the same way.
I mean, she's kind of leaping, and he's kind of in a run, so he's pretty much fully extended, but just kind of at a diagonal. But she's kind of leaning over. But yeah, I mean, they'd be up here. The zombies would.
Yeah,
I'm looking again. Up where? I was looking at mine.
So like the horizon line is roughly kind of at the monkey's eye level, right? And
I would expect the zombie head's on about that level.
Right, and that's because the camera isn't like super high; it's a little higher than eye line, but they would be up.
Yeah, like
you wouldn't be covered if you raise the zombies up because it's just smoke back there.
Smoke, right?
And then probably wouldn't matter if
Up, higher, just to humor me. Higher. Keep going.
Yeah, you're covering the guy. You may have to put the guy on another limb.
Then we run into that. Yeah, then we run into that. But I can.
I would say about at minimum about there.
Yeah.
But if you can show that the guy's leg is bent more, it would make it.
Yeah, I could put him a little lower. Yeah.
I love the poses, especially of the girl with the slingshot. It's great.
I feel like every once in a while I accidentally do an interesting pose because that's one of the few things that I didn't like photo reference. I just kind of like sketched that out.
Yeah. I feel like for something like this, photo reference is not going to be helpful because you want that dynamism that's not really
right. If you ever look at photos of people actually running, it's so boring and static.
It's not that interesting. No.
Yeah.
Unless you see someone like performatively running, like a silent movie run, like a Charlie Chaplin run or something.
Yeah.
Then you can find something kind of interesting.
Or a hurdle.
Yeah.
But most people when they run are moving their legs quicker than they are having very long strides.
Yeah.
And so in a still frame it just becomes like the kid, like the guy, like that's photo referenced. But I don't know. At least his legs are. I was trying to figure that out, but I don't know. Anyway.
I think it's getting there. I think it looks good.
Yeah.
Check to see if that what page you're using is a template.
Yeah.
It looks a little shorter than I would expect, but
yeah, you mentioned that before. The problem is I've been like really sick and all kinds of distractions and and I've been picking at this more than being able to like sit down for like 4 hours and just work on it. Where do I even have your stuff, Scott?
I don't know the answer to that.
Nah, it's probably this is how organized I've been this year. It's just in my downloads folder.
Actually, Scott, no urgency, but if you want to send me your template as well, just so because otherwise, unless you're just using the comic
standard comic book template. So
okay.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, so
if you're working digitally, I mean, I made the mistake before. The one I've got from the other artist is like comic book size, 300 DPI. I would like it to either be 300 DPI at 11 by 17, like oversized, just in case I want to do anything bigger with it.
Sure.
Gosh dang it.
You guys are both doing digital, right? Or are you gonna?
I do digital pencils and I'll ink it on paper.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Because I might even take the one that I got that was digital and print a larger one and ink it because I might want to frame them all. So if Gary's is all digital, I might do the same to that too.
Yeah, I haven't. It probably will be digital just for time constraints. I bet I haven't totally. It'll probably depend on what like concept I cook up and then what makes more sense. But since you would like the car feature, to me that instantly puts me into like probably digital.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, you've got a good eye. It's definitely taller.
Yeah.
Shoot. Where did that go?
I remember there was something I wanted to mention for especially the dinosaur fans out there. I've been watching a little bit at a time, Prehistoric Planet on Apple TV.
Oh yeah, I have something I wanted to add to that, Gary.
It's great. It's great. I'm really enjoying it, especially as someone who, for like 30 years now, has been sort of sick of the weirdo.
That's what I wanted to add because, so Gary, Prehistoric Planet, there was an earlier version of that. back when
Walking with
Jurassic Park
dinosaurs.
was out. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously the animation, everything might not hold up as well, but
Are you
my
talking
kids were
about
big into this.
the Walking with Dinosaurs BBC thing?
Well, that was
I'm pretty
new
sure there
one.
was a prehistoric planet because my kids had all kind. They were
really?
My boys were super big into dinosaurs, and I know they've had those documentary. It might have been Walking with Dinosaurs too.
I think it was Walking with Dinosaurs. Yeah,
Prehistoric Planet sounds really familiar.
it sounds super familiar, right? Like every time
I could probably go through and rifle through the DVDs and see if I find it. But yeah,
every time I say the name, I think like, am I getting that right? But it is for sure. It's on Apple TV now. I think it premiered a couple weeks ago, something like that. It's 5 episodes. I'm 3 episodes in. It's kind of what I had when I saw Jurassic Park, my first thought as a kid was, I want them to take this crazy technology they've made and make like a wildlife documentary about dinosaurs with this kind of level of quality. But like, I want to see them actually acting like animals, not like kaiju. Like I want to.
Yeah, I know they've done it before. So they have done that before. Now with the technology they have now, it's way better. But
it's really good. There's some stuff like anytime you see a dinosaur interacting with water, I'm never convinced like that's looking right. But is like that's special effects for you. But the actual animals themselves there look really good. You know, they're not bad, and it's a lot of fun to watch. Really good.
There's another one that my kids had that was really cool, and I forgot what it was called, but it was basically they sort of predicted, and it was like there was a few different parts, and they would predict so many years into the future, millions of years from now, how things would evolve. And there were like these squids that would be in trees, like with like the way monkeys would swing around in trees, but I
kind of remember that.
Yeah, it was really cool. I forgot what that was called.
There was a book that was all speculative, like that, but it was they got artists to kind of come up with these. It was very fantastical, but I think it might have been called something like After Man or something like that.
Yeah,
and it was like, let's say 500,000 years in the future, like what are some of the animals that would be running around? And it had a lot of that kind of weird, like ground, basically like descendants of bats that were like now bipedal, basically, and like strange, just like weird, like takes on things. Cats that had developed weird kind of simian quadrumanous, like they're tree dwelling and things. It was interesting. But yes, for the dinosaur fans out there, check out Prehistoric Planet. It's on Apple TV. Yes, that is a subscription service, but you can get a free week trial. And there's only 5 episodes, so you could just start it, burn through Prehistoric Planet, and cancel it, and you saw it for free. So.
It's also one of the cheapest subscriptions out there.
Yeah, it's like $5 a month or something.
At like $5, it's.
Yeah,
I might have to get it, but right now there's just like tons of stuff right now. Usually I'm like, I don't know what to watch, but right now there's Stranger Things, there's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I think The Boys just came out.
Okay, I want to talk to you, Scott, about Stranger Things.
Yes.
I don't like body horror.
Okay, you probably won't like it.
No, but I loved Stranger Things. The first few, the 3rd season I felt like was not as good as the first 2, but they was still good. But I feel like there's a drastic shift in tone right now towards
it's
more of it's the satanic panic that they're doing right now.
Right. It's kind of, I've heard it explained the way they explain Harry Potter, where it kind of grows with the audience. So as the kids grow older, the subject matter becomes a little more mature, and they tend to, the creators tend to homage different kind of eras or different genres in each subsequent season. Like this one is definitely more of like Wes Craven, Freddy, that type of thing, which I was never a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street, any of them.
Right.
But I think this is like, to me, and this would probably insult a lot or piss a lot of people off, but to me, if Nightmare on Elm Street was good, this is kind of, so far at least, I've only seen the first 3. This is what this is what I would like to see. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's so, but it still is a little jarring because even the characters that communicate in English and stuff, like the villain, compared to everything they've done before, is kind of like a little, okay, it's sort of Stranger Things, but not. But I am enjoying it. I think it's really good. So
that's kind of the vibe I got. Is it's kind of Stranger Things, but not. It was, I don't know. I watched the first episode. I thought the pacing was really weird, and it was like way more of like a teen drama than it was.
Well, and again, same thing. Like whereas before the earlier ones kind of were more Goonies, like the younger kids. Right. Now they're too old to kind of do that. I mean, and it's kind of growing with it. So now they're teens. So now as far as horror goes, the horror genre, you get into teens, you get into slashers, you get into stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I just bailed on it after the first episode, especially that closing scene. I was just like, like, it's fine. Like, I've seen those movies and stuff, but it was just like, that's just not what I'm into.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of bummed because I really did like the vibe of the first three. I felt like it was more like Young and the Dead, you know, which I still think you could do with teenagers, like they did with what's that group in the 80s with Wolfman? There's
Monster Squad.
Monster Squad, right? Those
but that was still Monster Squad. I mean,
but they were older, weren't they?
No, they were same age as Goonies kids. I mean, there might have been some older kids, but I mean, we were all kids in Goonies too. I mean, Brand was the older brother,
right? But I felt like they were more like freshman, sophomore in high school, not like junior high. No, okay, they just felt older because I was watching it when I was 6.
Because you were little, yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. That was I was just kind of. I just felt like they moved into like a less nuanced writing style, and I think suspense and drama and is a more nuanced and impressive way to write.
Yeah, I still think it has that. To me, it still has that. It's still the one thing they do really well is like the minute one ends, it's like, oh, I want to see the next one, and I really do feel like these characters are in danger because they have killed people off in the show, and they don't come back, and I didn't do a rewatch before starting to watch Stranger Things this season, and I had almost kind of like, okay, I wasn't for some reason I just wasn't expecting to. It's been a while since I watched it that I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I had the other seasons because I'm like, oh, they are getting kind of older. Is it still going to work as far as the Goonies thing? And I'm like, oh, they're kind of going a different direction, and I don't know. So far, I like it. I'm three episodes in, and I'm like watching. Like last night, I watched 2 episodes, or maybe I'm 4 in. I don't know. But tonight, like I'm looking forward to carving some time out to watch that before I go to bed too. So I can't binge stuff, and it sounds like I think Netflix is seeing that binging probably isn't the way to go. Like release them all at once because you don't build that anticipation. Like I think you're finding like what's happening with Disney does. So I think they're going to change their model, which I'm all for because I can't binge stuff, and then it's really hard not to get spoiled. You got to give me at least a week to watch an episode. I just don't have time to sit there and watch every episode of a show in one day. I mean, and then you get spoiled right away. Everything drops, and then once it drops, the hype is kind of over for it, So I think that's what Netflix is going to sort of go the weekly route, which I'm all for. I mean, I think it's just better for water cooler talk and stuff like that, and And then because you can't have that discussion with people, it's like, okay, which episodes have you actually seen? Okay, I'm trying to remember which ones I saw and which ones I don't want to give anything away, but I want to talk about it. So I don't know.
I haven't.
And they did kind of break it up a little bit, like they're breaking.
They did part 1.
Yeah, part 1, and I think the first 7 episodes, and then I think there'd be 2 more released next month. So. Just maybe their way of just testing this out a little bit, seeing how it pans out.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't know. I mean, the reason I wanted to talk to you guys is because I know that I am not like a typical target audience for something in the horror genre because I just hate horror. But at the same time, I did really enjoy Stranger Things up until this season. And in fairness, I've only watched the first episode, and then I kind of decided it's probably not going.
Yeah, it might not be. It does kind of keep going in that direction. You know?
Yeah. Which is fine, and I don't begrudge anybody, taking things. I mean, I'm not one of those fans that's like, I never want anything to change. Make me the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. But I just felt like it was such a tonal shift that it was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I have to admit I haven't. I watched the first season, and really liked it. I can't explain why this is, but there are very often shows or even movie franchises where I'll see like the first chunk and like it, like actually not, more than like I'll really enjoy it, but I'll feel like it was also like enough, and I'm just not interested in reading anymore or seeing anymore or watching anymore. And that's kind of what Stranger Things was. Like I burned through that first season. I loved to talk about it with everyone else and felt no need to like pick it up again. And I don't know why. There's been lots of things like that in my past where it's like, yeah, okay, I'm satisfied now. That's enough. I don't need more.
And that exactly is my argument for binge watching stuff, is because if I can watch everything back to back, like I love coming into. I mean, personally, we talked about this with comics. Like I'll come at something like a year or two later just so that I can read a bunch of it together.
Yeah.
But like it's the same thing with TV. I kind of love coming into TV shows, a year or two later so I can watch it all, at my own pace and whatever. And but then I have had a lot of shows where like my wife and I are super into it, and we'll watch like an episode a night for months or whatever, and we'll go through a few seasons. And then we have to wait, 6 months to a year for the next season to come out. And when it drops, we're just totally uninterested again. But we were like into it,
Yeah,
and
it's somehow like the spell dissipates, and like you're kind of like,
well, it's kind of like, do I have the energy to get back into that frame of mind? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I do.
It was like a state specific experience where it was like I enjoyed it then, and now I've moved on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same reason. Like I'm not, you don't go back to your high school girlfriend. It's like, well, it's great, but I have no interest in revisiting. And it's kind of the same. It's sort of the same thing. Well, and I think sometimes it's that it's been long enough where it's like you feel like you'd have trouble finding your place with it again.
Yeah.
Like what was going on? Like for example, like I said, I really enjoyed the first season of Stranger Things. I don't know if I could tell you much about it. Like I remember some stuff, but not a lot. So then, it seems like Stranger Things, each season is pretty distinct. So you don't really need to remember everything about the first one. But like, you kind of like, what was this? What are we doing again? What is this about again? And I'm sure it does a good job. Like I'm not saying Stranger Things is bad or, what I just, for whatever reason, it's one of those things. I can think of probably a bunch of other examples where started it, enjoyed it, was fully satisfied, and like that was enough. I just didn't feel the need to keep going back.
Yeah.
I the same, like I didn't do a rewatch before, and they did do a little recap, which helped. But I had just forgot a lot of stuff, and this is the show that I really like. But I forget things after I watch them. And there's things like a certain one, like Paul Reiser's name came up in the credits. I'm like, oh, Paul Reiser's in this one. And then I realized, oh, he was in the last one too. And I totally forgot his whole character. Like, so it's like, okay. So it's like, I should have done a rewatch because I know I would have enjoyed it. It's just a matter of time. I'm like,
who has time? I mean, there's so many shows that I still I'll probably never get around to just because who has time?
Well, and there are a lot of times where I will watch the recap of something with the intention of watching the next thing, and then I'm just like kind of that high school girlfriend thing. I'm like, I'm not there anymore. Like even with the recap, I'm like, I remember enjoying that, and that's it. Yeah,
and I would like to. One that was like that, it's coming up. But I feel like everyone was like this. The Avatar sequels. Like honestly could not be less interested. And maybe
I hear that from a lot of people, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I guess I'm not in that camp. I mean, because I don't think James Cameron's ever let me down as far as anything he's done. Like he always people are like, oh, he's not gonna be able to top Titanic. Roll me tops Titanic. I mean, so I don't know. I wouldn't bet against the guy, even though a lot of people are kind of that opinion. But it looked. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of excited to revisit that.
But what's funny, and again, might be great, and maybe a trailer or something will come out, or people will say something about it where it's like, oh, maybe I should go see it, and maybe I'll love it. I don't know, but like at least as of today, Avatar was another. It's kind of like Stranger Things, where it's like I saw that movie, I had fun, and like I feel like I have everything I need of the Na'vi. It's all right. I get it. And
I've never seen it.
It's
Really?
At least for the technical. I don't think it's a particularly great movie, but the technical.
And I don't know that Titanic was either. Story-wise,
I thoroughly enjoyed Fern Gully, and I felt like I didn't need to see
I've had that.
Avatar.
I mean, to me, I don't like that comparison because that's back to the thing like the whole idea of like, oh, I can't tell the story because it's sort of already been told. It's different enough. I mean, you could say that about, there's so many stories like that.
So many.
It's like, well, I didn't, I didn't like Bug's Life because I saw Seven Samurai, or I didn't. Those are even more. Those are even more close. I think if you add something different to it,
I fully agree with you.
I would say if you enjoyed Dances with Wolves, if you enjoyed Fern Gully, you'll probably enjoy the basic premise of Avatar. It's sort of that story. But I think it's worth seeing. I do think Avatar is worth seeing just for like the visual accomplishment. Like the fact that basically, 95% of that movie is CG and it's pretty, like it looks pretty great. Like over and over and over again. Like it is very impressive just as a technical accomplishment. Yeah. But I forgot who made the observation, and it stuck with me because it was interesting. Like Avatar was, I don't know if it still is, but it was the biggest movie of all time. Everybody saw it, and yet it didn't attach to pop culture and popular conversation the way that like a Star Wars or a Terminator or something else did.
Right.
Or the kind of inexplicably,
I would say that about most of James Cameron's movies. They're huge.
Titanic, though,
Titanic's except
them on
Terminator.
The front of the ship, like King of the World, like that became like this stupid pop culture moment. But
Terminators definitely.
And Terminator, but Avatar, for some reason, it didn't take. And like, maybe it's just we're past that. Maybe no movie can ever take like that again. Or there's something about it where we all saw it, we all kind of had a good time, and like nobody really talks about it. Like, it's like the Spice Girls. Like everyone was listening, but no one's talking about the Spice Girls. Like it's this weird thing that just went in and out. And I do find that kind of interesting.
Yeah, I was just such a contrarian as a teenager. I mean, I bring up the Fern Gully thing not because I continue to maintain that as a valid argument, but because that's literally the reason that I didn't see it when I was, 15 or 16 or 17 or whenever it came out.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a big fan of James Cameron. So like, I think I saw it just because, I mean, like Scott said, he's got almost no misses, like you feel like it's at least going to be fun. Like it'll be something. So I think I went and saw it in that kind of spirit. And
it also depends kind of on, I think a lot of it might come down to the reviews once people, because like I was not a fan of Top Gun. But I just started hearing all these reviews, and my girlfriend, she was a fan of it and she wanted to see it. And I'm like, well, you go see that with somebody else. And then whoever she was going to see couldn't do it. And I'm like, but I had heard all these reviews on how great it was, this Maverick. So I went and saw it with her, and I loved it. And
I've heard
I
it's
absolutely
good.
did not like the first one. Still don't like the first one at all.
Right.
And, it was great. I thought it was just fantastic.
I'm interested to see it. Like I, for the same reasons, like I was like, there's no way I'm seeing that. But enough people have said like it's really fun, you know, where it's like, okay, well, all right, sure.
So Scott, I'm curious, what about Top Gun you didn't like the original one? Because I haven't seen the other one. Yeah.
I think a lot of it fell into those, or a lot of Tom Cruise's characters is kind of, especially in the early thing, was just a one note. Oh, I'm the best at this. I'm the best bartender there ever was. I'm the best race car driver there ever was. I'm the best pilot there ever was. I'm like, and really the characters were pretty two-dimensional, and there wasn't really there wasn't much stakes. I think in the end there was sort of a dogfight, but it was just them training. Oh, who's going to be the best? And then, I wonder who's going to be the best. It's a Tom Cruise movie. I just didn't. It didn't.
Probably Tom Cruise.
This one has a lot more stakes. I think the characters are more interesting. Some of them are like the kids. You know, the younger. A lot of them are kind of like what the other ones were. But there's enough there. I just think, you know, and like I said, there are more stakes to it, and it's kind of edge of your seat. You know, I don't know. They just, as far as a sequel goes, especially, I think they did a really good job, because I thought going into it like, oh, it's going to be like all these other ones where we're gonna bring back the original, you know, whoever, and they're older, but we're gonna introduce the younger, you know, whether it's what they did with, you know, with Indiana Jones or Ghostbusters or whatever. And I just think it didn't seem like that's part of it, but it didn't seem like that was the goal, you know. With this, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't expecting to, but I thought it was really, really good.
That's cool.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm excited to see. Because again, drawing a comic, it's hard to get out and see a movie. But it looks like Doctor Strange 2 is going to show up on Disney Plus in a couple weeks, and so I'm excited to see that. I heard that.
I liked that one.
Yeah, I liked it too. Yeah,
I heard it was pretty good. So.
My girlfriend hated it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's and the first. One of the guys that works at the comic store, he gets. I said, without any spoilers, I like, what do you think? And he says, well, it's either the worst Marvel movie I've ever seen or the best. And I'm like,
right.
Okay, that's kind of a crazy, you know. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's definitely got a lot of Raimi-isms in it, which I didn't really appreciate so much until later, because I hadn't seen a lot of like the Evil Deads before. Even before Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man came out. And like when I first watched Drag Me to Hell, I'm like, this is kind of campy and I don't know if I like this. And then then I became more familiar with Sam Raimi and I'm like, okay, I get it now. I get it.
Yeah. I try to talk up Drag Me to Hell every chance I get, because I feel like nobody's really seen it. And especially when I hear somebody like enjoyed Army of Darkness or Evil Dead or any of those, I feel like you really should then see Drag Me to Hell, because to me, it's like this director at the height of his powers, going back and doing the thing that he originally made, you know, and actually doing it not in a campy, you know, B-movie.
The thing that I like, and the thing that I also like about Drag Me to Hell is PG. And so it's not as heavy on the blood, but it's still disgusting.
It's really gross.
And it shows that because there's always that argument, like, oh, it should have been R, which in some cases, I agree. But I don't think it has to be R. I think you can still do, you know, horror. And I think you can still do a lot of stuff with the PG-13 movie if you do it the right way, you know?
Yes. Well, in that one, it's funny. I didn't even think of it until you said it. I think of it as kind of an R-rated movie.
Yeah, it comes across. If it's so good, you don't even think, oh, there's not much blood in it, or there's not a lot of cursing or whatever. And it's like, if you don't think about it, I mean, if you watch it and it's so good that you don't even bother, like, oh, that. I think I can't remember if the last Mad Max was R or PG-13, but
you're talking Fury Road. It's R.
Was it R?
It's got to be R. Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, I want to think it's PG-13, but it definitely felt like R.
It's R because I have an edited copy of it.
Oh, there you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. Okay.
Which I was thinking about that the other day. I want to go back and rewatch Fury Road because that was one of the best.
Have either of you read the book about the
book.
making of Fury Road? It just came out a couple months ago.
No.
It is fascinating.
Hold on, let me pull what I have, and you tell me if it's the same one. Just a minute.
Okay, let me pull up mine because I have the audiobook of it. Where's my audiobook? It is it's an oral history of the 20 years that they took to make the movie.
Yeah, it was a whole nightmare, right? I heard the shoot was kind of nightmarish too. I'll be right back. I gotta run to the bathroom. So
is it like Blood and Chrome or something? Yeah, that's it.
Sorry. Is it this one?
No. So it's an audiobook.
Oh, okay.
They also have it. They also have it as a whatever. Oh, I can't move this. Hold on. This is the one that it is. And so it's the wild and true story of Mad Max. So it's an oral history.
Oh, cool.
Of the 20 years of making it. And so it's basically like they have the because is the one that you just showed, Scott, is that the art of?
Yeah.
Dude, I would love to see that.
yeah,
That's
that
awesome. Yeah, this is I keep telling people that this is the one. If any movie deserved a toy line, it's this one.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Why they didn't do that? Maybe it's because it was R, but that never stopped them with a lot of stuff. But
yeah.
But I mean, the vehicles and just it's just been so awesome. I mean,
That would have been. Now I'd never thought of that, but now I'm really feeling the pain of not having it.
Well, they went through and they interviewed all the stunt coordinators and the extras, and they like lived in this village in the middle of this desert while they were making this movie, and like leads like kind of started to go crazy a little bit, and like anyway, like I forget the dude's name who played Max.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Now, most people don't have firsthand experience with like British street thugs.
Yeah.
But he is an authentic.
He's a tough guy.
Yeah, but he's not like a Vin Diesel tough guy who is fit. He's like a street tough guy. You know what I mean? Like, and so like some of the stories that they tell, they're like, I can tell this now because like the movie is over and I won't get in trouble, but like they used to play this game called Not in the Face. And they're like, what are the rules of the game? It's like, well, we take props that can be turned into some sort of weapon, and the rule is that you don't shoot it at someone's face. And so like Tom Hardy and all of the like stunt coordinators and everything, they would just in between shots just play Not in the Face, and they would take like a potato gun or like some sort of rocket launcher or a slingshot or whatever, and the goal was, just you can't hit the other person in the face, and just whoever could take it took it. And like there's just crazy stuff like that. And then they're like the polecats where they have, they're on the long pole and they've got like the sticky explosions and stuff. I mean, that thing, or the motorcycle jumps. I mean, they are like, they shot the other thing is they shot the movie in cinematic order.
That's right.
And so like Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy, because Charlize Theron is like a consummate professional. So I mean, there's somebody who's describing her and they're like, if she is delivering a line and she has a tear fall on the third word of the fifth sentence in that little monologue, and you ask her to do it again, that tear will fall on the same word 37 times in a row.
Crazy. Yeah.
Like, she is that good. And Tom Hardy is a method street thug. And so his character is nuts and doesn't really speak that much and kind of just grunts. And that's kind of how he was for the months that they lived in the desert.
Yeah.
And so they hated each other.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
And it actually worked out really well, because as they kind of had this big blowout and then eventually sort of apologized and got to know each other and started to respect each other, as their characters on screen kind of stopped hating each other and started to respect each other.
Getting along. And
that wasn't planned. It was just happenstance that happened. But the chemistry that you see them have eventually at the end is actually because it's real.
Them actually falling a little bit. No, God, that movie was so good. By the way, if someone wants to see, if they really want to see Bruiser Tom Hardy, there's lots of examples. But check out Bronson, which is this insane movie he did about a real, somehow notorious criminal in, I think, the UK, who spent most of his life in prison. He was just this super violent, crazy weirdo who had a brief foray into the art world. He was painting a little bit. And the movie is phenomenal, but like especially Tom Hardy's not a huge guy. Like, he's bulky,
sure,
but he's not tall. Like, he's a little guy. And so some might be like, oh, it's kind of hard to picture him as very threatening, but like, you see him in that movie, and I know acting, whatever, but you see him in that movie and like, he's terrifying. Like, and that's why when he got cast as Bane, I was like, I had seen Bronson and I was like, perfect. Just right. Yeah, like, that'll be awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. So.
Yeah. I gotta step out for a couple minutes.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna wrap up because I'm at the stage where my digital pencils are pretty much done and I need to start focusing now. So thanks for dropping by though, guys. Do you have anything you want to plug before you go?
Kickstarter coming out next month. Young and the Dead. You'll be able to pick up variant covers from both of these guys.
Yes. Yeah. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna dig up issue 3 today and start percolating ideas.
Speaking of movies that take 20 years to make, my short film that should have been finished 3 months ago, I'm shooting the final scenes of it on Tuesday. So hopefully I'll have something in the next 3 or 4 weeks after I do all the editing and sound and special effects on the live action stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, Jim Lujan is soon releasing his biannual animated film. Rumor has it tomorrow, but so go check that out. And then anyone who hasn't yet, DvsM 1975 and 97 are back in stock on my Etsy shop. If you're looking for either one of them, now's the time. Still a few left. And we will be back next week where I will, in theory, be doing... On schedule is 18, but I think I might have 18 done or almost done. So we're going to try and get page 19 started next week. So we'll see how that goes. But we'll see how far off I am. But 19, ideally, I would like to be starting page 19 Saturday morning. All right, guys.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you guys later.